Hello dear friends, as usual once again it's hearty and warm welcome in this new lecture. Dear friends, the topic for our today's lecture is autonomic nervous system. Friends, all of we are known that the human nervous system is broadly divided into three major subdivisions such as central nervous system CNS, which include brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system, it includes the network of different nerves which transmit impulses from CNS to different body organs and also from different body organs back to the CNS, and on the basis of which the nerves of peripheral nervous system may be classified into two types such as afferent and efferent nerves. Once again, please listen carefully. I said that the central nervous system, it includes brain and spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system, it includes the network of nerves which transmit impulses to and fro the CNS. That is, these nerves either transmit the impulses from central nervous system to different body parts or say from different body parts to the central nervous system. अर्थात पेरिफेरल नर्वस सिस्टीम मध्ये ज्या नर्व्सचा ज्या चेतांचा समावेश होतो या चेता सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टीम पासून मध्यवर्ती चेता संस्थेपासून विविध अवयवांकडे किंवा विविध अवयवांकडून पुन्हा सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टीम कडे मध्यवर्ती चेता संस्थेकडे संवेदनेचं वहन करत असतात. ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ विच, याच्याच आधारावर द नर्व्स ऑफ पेरिफेरल नर्वस सिस्टीम मे बी क्लासिफाइड ॲज afferent nerves and efferent nerves. Afferent and efferent. Afferent nerves transmit impulses from different body parts to the CNS. Afferent nerves, they transmit impulses from different body parts to the CNS, and that's why these may be called as sensory nerves. On the other hand, efferent nerves means the nerves which transmits impulses from central nervous system to different body organs, and hence these nerves may be known as motor nerves. शरीराच्या वेगवेगळ्या अवयवांकडून मध्यवर्ती चेता संस्थेकडे संवेदनेचं वहन करणाऱ्या नर्व्सला afferent किंवा सेन्सरी नर्व्स असं म्हणतात, आणि ज्या चेता मध्यवर्ती चेता संस्थेकडून विविध अवयवांकडे संवेदनेचं वहन करतात त्यांना efferent किंवा मोटार नर्व्स असं म्हणतात. However, according to the recent studies, listen carefully. However, according to the recent studies, the peripheral nervous system is classified into two types such as somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. I said that according to the modern study, recent study, the peripheral nervous system is further classified into two subtypes such as somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system, it transmits impulses from central nervous system to the skeletal muscles. You know, skeletal muscles may be called as the striated muscles or may be known as the voluntary muscles. On the other hand, autonomic nervous system, it transmits impulses from central nervous system to the smooth muscles, cardiac muscles present in different visceral organs as well as to the different glands. It means the autonomous nervous system, it transmits impulses from central nervous system to the involuntary muscles such as smooth muscles and cardiac muscles, as well as to the glands. You know that most of the visceral organs contain smooth muscles. बहुसंख्य visceral organs मध्ये smooth muscles असतात, and we know that the smooth muscles as well as cardiac muscles are involuntary because they does not work according to our will. So we people have to remember that the somatic nervous system, which is considered as the subdivision of peripheral nervous system, it is responsible for the transmission of impulses from central nervous system to the voluntary muscles, say striated muscles. Is that clear? While the autonomic nervous system is responsible for the transmission of impulses from CNS to the involuntary muscles such as smooth muscles present in different visceral organs as well as cardiac muscles, we know, which form our heart and the glands. Now we people have to discuss actually about the autonomic nervous system, which is the topic for our today's lecture. So let us talk about it. So now let us start in detail discussion of autonomic nervous system. I told you just now that the autonomic nervous system is considered as a subdivision of peripheral nervous system, and it is responsible for the transmission of impulses from central nervous system, that is from brain and spinal cord, to different visceral organs, say to smooth muscles, cardiac muscles and different glands. Basically, the autonomic nervous system consists of three main components. Autonomic nervous system मध्ये तीन प्रमुख घटक आहेत, such as preganglionic nerve fiber. Let me tell you the meaning of these terms. Preganglionic nerve fiber. Second, autonomic ganglion. Autonomic ganglia, plural. And third component as postganglionic nerve fibers. Postganglionic nerve fibers. So I said that initially we people have to understand that autonomic nervous system consists of three main components such as preganglionic nerve fibers, autonomic ganglia and postganglionic nerve fibers. Let me explain you. Consider, here is supposed to be diagrammatically the central nervous system. आपण कल्पना करूया diagrammatically ही central nervous system आहे, means here is supposed to be the brain and here is spinal cord. Now what does it mean, preganglionic nerve fiber? Preganglionic nerve fiber means actually these are the nerve fibers, that is the axon of neurons whose cyton is present in CNS, that is either brain or spinal cord. Listen carefully. Preganglionic nerve fibers म्हणजे काय हे मी सांगतोय. आपल्या सगळ्यांना nerve fiber म्हणजे काय हे माहित आहे. Nerve fiber means what? It is simply the dendrite or axon. Mostly the nerve fibers are axon of neuron, axon of nerve cell, isn't it? Now here preganglionic nerve fibers means the nerve fibers which are the axon of neurons whose cell body is present either in brain or spinal cord. याचा अर्थ ज्या चेतापेशींची सेल बॉडी, ज्या न्यूरॉन किंवा नर्व सेलची सेल बॉडी सायटॉन ही या ठिकाणी कुठेतरी ब्रेन मध्ये किंवा स्पायनल कॉर्ड मध्ये आहे, आणि अशा चेतापेशीचा जो ॲक्झॉन असेल त्याला म्हटलं जातं प्रीगॅंग्लियोनिक नर्व फायबर. this preganglionic nerve fiber, it ends on the ganglia, which are the part of autonomic nervous system, and that's why that ganglia may be called as the autonomic ganglia. I think all of you are aware the meaning of ganglia. Ganglia, it is the plural form of ganglion. And what is ganglion? Ganglion is nothing but simply it is the aggregation or mass of cytons of neurons. It means the cytons of many nerve cells, whenever aggregate together, they form a small mass, small nodule-like structure known as the ganglion, plural ganglia. Now here with the help of pink chalk, I have shown the autonomic ganglia. Means these ganglia are only the part of autonomic nervous system, and those nerve fiber which transmit impulses from central nervous system, that is from brain and spinal cord up to these ganglia, autonomic ganglia, are known as the preganglionic nerve fibers. Name itself indicates, pre stands for before. Preganglionic means the nerve fibers which are present before ganglia and they transmit impulses from CNS up to the autonomic ganglia. Is that clear? While what is postganglionic nerve fibers? Post stands for after, latter. Ganglion nantarche nerve fiber. What does it mean? These nerve fibers are the axons of neurons whose cell bodies are present in the ganglia. Let me explain you. Consider here is supposed to be the postganglionic nerve fiber. या ठिकाणी आपण कल्पना करूया की हा postganglionic nerve fiber आहे. पुन्हा तेच आपल्याला या ठिकाणी म्हणता येईल. Nerve fiber म्हणजे काय? It is the axon of nerve cell. Now this axon, that is the nerve fiber, this axon is of the nerve cell whose cyton is present in this ganglion, and this nerve fiber transmit impulses from ganglion up to the visceral organ. As it transmit impulses from ganglion to the visceral organ, hence it is called as the postganglionic nerve fiber. So initially we people have to understand the meaning of these three terms: preganglionic nerve fiber, autonomic ganglia, and postganglionic nerve fiber. Once again, preganglionic nerve fibers means these are the axons of nerve cells whose cytons are present in the central nervous system and they transmit impulses from central nervous system to the autonomic ganglia. Second component, autonomic ganglia. Autonomic ganglia, these are the masses or aggregations of cytons of many nerve cells and are the part or component of autonomic nervous system. The preganglionic nerve fiber ends in the autonomic ganglia, while the last component, postganglionic nerve fibers, these are the nerve fibers which transmit impulses from autonomic ganglia up to the visceral organs. And these postganglionic nerve fibers are nothing but simply these are the axons of nerve cells whose cytons are present in these ganglia. Now, basically, autonomic nervous system is further divisible into two divisions, such as sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. So we have to understand about these two divisions of autonomic nervous system one by one each. So let us start the study of first sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system comprises in all four components, such as first sympathetic cords may be known as sympathetic trunks. Second, preganglionic nerve fibers. Preganglionic nerve fibers. Third, postganglionic nerve fibers. And fourth, collateral ganglia. Let us discuss one by one each. Now, to understand all these different components, let me draw here one rough diagram. Consider here is again a dorsal view of brain. We know that the posterior most part of the brain is nothing but the medulla oblongata, and the posterior extension of medulla oblongata is simply in the form of spinal cord, which runs through the cavity of vertebral column, that is neural canal. Consider here is the spinal cord. Means diagrammatically, here I have shown the central nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord. Now, let us talk about the first component of sympathetic nervous system, that is sympathetic cords. These are simply two chains of sympathetic ganglia which lie on both the sides of vertebral column. Very simple. I said that the sympathetic cords or sympathetic trunks are nothing but simply these are two chains of sympathetic ganglia lie on both the sides of vertebral column. वर्टिब्रल कॉलमच्या दोन्ही बाजूला, पाठीच्या कण्याच्या दोन्ही बाजूला त्या ठिकाणी सिम्पॅथेटिक गँग्लियाच्या दोन चेन्स प्रेझेंट असतात ज्यांना सिम्पॅथेटिक कॉर्ड्स असं म्हणतात. आय एम गोइंग टू शो देअर इन डायग्राम. ईच सिम्पॅथेटिक कॉर्ड कंसिस्ट ऑफ इन ऑल 21 सिम्पॅथेटिक गँग्लिया. एका चेन मध्ये 21 सिम्पॅथेटिक गँग्लिया हे प्रेझेंट असतात. गोइंग टू शो. And these 21 sympathetic ganglia are classified as 3 cervical, means located in the neck region, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar and 1 sacral. Okay. Now let me show these sympathetic ganglia and these sympathetic trunks here in this diagram. Consider, with the help of yellow chalk, I am going to show these 3 cervical sympathetic ganglia. 3 cervical sympathetic ganglia. Then there are 12 thoracic sympathetic ganglia. Let me show. 12 thoracic sympathetic ganglia, then 5 lumbar. Let us see. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And the last one is sacral sympathetic ganglia. So I said that the sympathetic cords are nothing but simply these are two chains of sympathetic ganglia lie on both sides of vertebral column. Each sympathetic cord consists of 21 sympathetic ganglia and these are classified as 3 cervical sympathetic ganglia, 12 thoracic sympathetic ganglia, 5 lumbar sympathetic ganglia and last one sacral sympathetic ganglion. Is that clear? All these sympathetic ganglia are interconnected with each other by means of a short nerve fiber to form a chain, to form a cord known as sympathetic cord or sympathetic trunk. I said there are 2 sympathetic cord. Here in this diagram I have shown single one. The same sympathetic trunk, same sympathetic cord is also present on another side. Okay. Now come to the second component, that is preganglionic nerve fibers. Preganglionic nerve fibers are actually the axon of nerve cells whose cytons are present in central nervous system. Here the preganglionic nerve fibers are comparatively shorter. या ठिकाणी preganglionic nerve fibers हे comparatively shorter आहे. And listen carefully. Out of these 21 sympathetic ganglia, only all thoracic and first 3 lumbar sympathetic ganglia are connected to the spinal cord by means of preganglionic nerve fibers. I am going to tell you once again, what is sympathetic nerve fibers? Sympathetic nerve fibers are nothing but these are the axons of nerve cells whose cell body, whose cyton is present either in brain or spinal cord. Okay? And here these preganglionic nerve fibers are comparatively short and they connect the spinal cord to the all thoracic and first 3 lumbar sympathetic ganglia. Let me show in the diagram. Consider these are the preganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers. Preganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers which connect all thoracic sympathetic ganglia as well as first 3 lumbar sympathetic ganglia to the spinal cord. Is that clear? And that's why it may be called as the thoraco-lumbar outflow. Thoraco-lumbar outflow. Do you remember while studying the formation of spinal nerve, I have taught you, ज्यावेळेला आपण स्पायनल नर्वचा अभ्यास केला त्यावेळेला मी तुम्हाला असं शिकवलं होतं की स्पायनल नर्व ही तयार झाल्यानंतर स्पायनल नर्वचे 3 प्रमुख ब्रांचेस होतात. प्लीज रिकॉल युअरसेल्फ. स्पायनल नर्वचे 3 प्रमुख ब्रांचेस होतात such as ramus dorsalis, ramus ventralis and meningeal ramus. Ramus dorsalis, ramus ventralis and meningeal ramus in normal spinal nerves. Okay, I have already told you that in thoracic spinal nerves and first 3 spinal nerves there is one more additional branch known as ramus communicans. Ramus communicans. And these preganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers actually pass along with this ramus communicans branch of all thoracic spinal nerves and first 3 lumbar spinal nerves to connect, to join with the sympathetic ganglia. Now the preganglionic nerve fibers, whatever here I have shown, preganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers, they either join with the sympathetic ganglia or they simply extend through the sympathetic ganglia and join to another type of ganglia that is known as collateral ganglia, which is the 4th component of sympathetic nervous system. I am going to talk about it after a few minutes. So here we have discussed about the preganglionic nerve fibers. I said that preganglionic nerve fibers are nothing but these are the axons of nerve cells whose cyton is present in central nervous system. Here these preganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers are comparatively short and they connect the spinal cord with all thoracic and first 3 lumbar vertebrae. So also they are known as thoraco-lumbar outflow. And out of all these preganglionic sympathetic nerve fiber, some of them they extend simply through these lateral ganglia, through these sympathetic ganglia which may be known as the chain ganglia and run towards the collateral ganglia. Now the third component is postganglionic nerve fiber. I have already told you, these postganglionic nerve fibers are nothing but the axons of nerve cells whose cyton is present here in these lateral ganglia or sympathetic ganglia, may be known as the chain ganglia. And these postganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers are comparatively longer and they connect sympathetic ganglia with the visceral organs. Of course, these postganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers, they transmit impulses from sympathetic ganglia up to the visceral organs. Actually, the sympathetic nervous system, it works by the release of one chemical at the terminal end of postganglionic sympathetic nerve fiber, that is adrenaline or noradrenaline. I said that the sympathetic nervous system, it works by the release of chemical at the terminal end of postganglionic sympathetic nerve fiber, that is adrenaline or noradrenaline. याचा अर्थ ही sympathetic nervous system visceral organs वर स्वतःची ऍक्शन, स्वतःची क्रिया कशाच्या मदतीने दाखवत असते, तर by the release of one chemical at the terminal end of postganglionic sympathetic nerve fiber. या ठिकाणी हा जो postganglionic sympathetic nerve fiber दाखवलाय, त्याच्या शेवटच्या टोकाला visceral organ जवळ काही केमिकल रिलीज केले जातात. त्या केमिकलचं नाव आहे adrenaline or noradrenaline, and that's why these postganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers are also known as adrenergic nerve fibers. What is the effect of that adrenaline or noradrenaline, that I am going to tell you after a few minutes. The last component of sympathetic nervous system is collateral ganglia. Collateral ganglia are also the ganglia of sympathetic nervous system. So we can say these are also the sympathetic ganglia, but these are isolated. These are not consolidated and in the form of chain, just like the chain ganglia or lateral ganglia. These collateral ganglia are scattered and mostly these are located near the visceral organs. Consider here is a collateral ganglia. अर्थात collateral ganglia हे सुद्धा विशिष्ट प्रकारचे sympathetic nervous systemचाच भाग आहेत, परंतु ते या ठिकाणी ही जी sympathetic trunk आहे तिचा भाग नाही. They are not in the form of chain. These are isolated. They are scattered in the body and near the visceral organs. And these are innervated, I told you, by some of the preganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers. या ठिकाणी या कोलॅटरल गँग्लियाला प्रीगँग्लियोनिक सिम्पॅथेटिक नर्व फायबर्स जोडलेले असतात. And from here a short postganglionic nerve fiber that connects with the visceral organ. Actually, the preganglionic sympathetic nerve fiber, actually these collateral ganglia are named from above to the downward, such as the celiac ganglia, superior mesenteric ganglia, inferior mesenteric ganglia, and preganglionic sympathetic nerve fiber which extend after the sympathetic ganglia may be known as splanchnic nerves. This is for your extra knowledge. Anyway, so here we have discussed about the components of sympathetic nervous system, such as sympathetic cords, second preganglionic nerve fibers, postganglionic nerve fibers, and collateral ganglia. Actually, this sympathetic nervous system, it works under emergency conditions, such as in stress conditions, that is during anger, fear, pain, etc. And it is mostly excitatory or stimulatory in action. It means it accelerates the rate of working of different visceral organs, except it shows inhibitory effect on digestive system and excretory system. Say, the sympathetic nervous system, it increases the heart rate, it increases the pulse rate, it increases the constriction and dilation of blood vessels, it increases the blood pressure. On the other hand, it inhibits the functioning of digestive system, such as it inhibits the peristalsis, it inhibits the secretion of salivary gland, it inhibits the secretion of gastric juice by gastric glands, intestinal juice by intestinal glands, secretion of bile by liver, as well as it also shows inhibitory effect on excretory system. Say, it bring about the relaxation of urinary bladder. It means it opposes the micturition, that is urination. मला असं सांगायचंय की ही सिम्पॅथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टीम ही इमर्जन्सी कंडिशन्स मध्ये काम करत असते. अर्थात ज्या वेळेला अँगर, फिअर अशा प्रकारच्या स्ट्रेसफुल कंडिशन्स असतात त्यावेळेला वेगवेगळ्या विसरल ऑर्गन्सचं काम करण्याची गती वाढवण्याचं काम ही सिम्पॅथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टीम करत असते. इट इज मोस्टली ॲक्सिलरेटरी, स्टिम्युलेटरी, एक्साइटेटरी इन रोल. परंतु डायजेस्टिव्ह सिस्टीम आणि एक्सक्रिटरी सिस्टीम बाबत ती इनहिबिटरी इफेक्ट दाखवते. म्हणजे डायजेस्टिव्ह सिस्टीम मध्ये स्टमक, इंटेस्टाइन या भागांचं पेरिस्टाल्सिस, दॅट इज अ वेव्ह ऑफ रिदमिक कॉन्ट्रॅक्शन अँड रिलॅक्सेशन, याला आपण पेरिस्टाल्सिस म्हणतो. अंकुचन आणि प्रसरण याला विरोध करणं. तसंच सलायवा, गॅस्ट्रिक ज्यूस, इंटेस्टिनल ज्यूस यांच्या सिक्रेशनला इनहिबिट करणं. तसंच युरिनरी ब्लॅडरचं रिलॅक्सेशन घडवून आणणं. अशा प्रकारचे इनहिबिटरी इफेक्ट्सही ही सिस्टीम दाखवत असते. Now we people have to learn about the second division of autonomic nervous system, that is parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system. Well, this parasympathetic nervous system also comprises same three major components, such as first, preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers. I said the first component is preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers, second component parasympathetic ganglia, and third component postganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers. Let us talk first preganglionic nerve fibers. Okay. Now here these preganglionic nerve fibers are comparatively longer, and they are the axons of nerve cells present in brain and spinal cord. Listen carefully. Preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers are the axons of nerve cells whose cytons are present in brain as well as in spinal cord. We have to distinguish. आपल्याला फरक लक्षात आला पाहिजे. ज्या वेळेला आपण सिम्पॅथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टीमचा विचार केला त्यावेळेला त्याचा पहिला घटक होता प्रीगँग्लिओनिक सिम्पॅथेटिक नर्व फायबर. आणि मी असं म्हटलं होतं कि preganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers are the axons of nerve cells whose cytons are only present in the spinal cord. Okay, but here I am saying that the preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers are the axons of nerve cells whose cytons are present in brain as well as spinal cord. These preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers are comparatively longer and they pass along with 4 cranial nerves and 3 sacral spinal nerves. What did I say? Preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers are comparatively longer and they pass along with four cranial nerves. Which four cranial nerves? Third cranial nerve, that is oculomotor. Seventh cranial nerve, that is facial. Ninth cranial nerve, glossopharyngeal. And 10th cranial nerve, that is vagus, as well as the second, third, fourth and fifth sacral spinal nerves. Sacral spinal nerves. Listen, I said that the preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers, these are comparatively longer and they pass along with these four cranial nerves. Consider these are supposed to be the oculomotor, facial, glossopharyngeal and vagus cranial nerves. Okay, and here are supposed to be the sacral spinal nerves. Just consider, suppose these are the sacral spinal nerves, second, third, fourth and fifth. So these preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers, they pass along with these four cranial nerves and three sacral spinal nerves, and that's why these preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers may be known as craniosacral outflow. Do you remember, while studying sympathetic nervous system, I told you in sympathetic nervous system the preganglionic sympathetic nerve fibers are termed as thoraco-lumbar outflow, and here preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers is termed as craniosacral outflow. Now second component I told you, that is parasympathetic ganglia. Parasympathetic ganglia are isolated. These are scattered. These are not in the form of chain. And these are located either near different visceral organs or may be embedded in the wall of visceral organs. Consider here is any visceral organ. कल्पना करूया की हा कुठला तरी एक visceral organ आहे आणि या visceral organच्या अगदी जवळ किंवा त्या visceral organच्या wall मध्ये अशा प्रकारे parasympathetic ganglia हे present असतात. So here is one more difference. In sympathetic nervous system, that sympathetic ganglia are in the form of chain and located near the central nervous system away from the visceral organs. But here in parasympathetic nervous system, these parasympathetic ganglia are located away from the central nervous system but near the visceral organs. We know that these preganglionic parasympathetic nerve fiber ends in the parasympathetic ganglia. And the third component is postganglionic parasympathetic nerve fiber. Postganglionic parasympathetic nerve fiber. Here these postganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers are very short and they connect parasympathetic ganglia to the visceral organs. This parasympathetic nervous system, it works by the release of chemical acetylcholine at the terminal end of postganglionic parasympathetic nerve fiber. Acetylcholine. Listen, I said that this parasympathetic nervous system, it works by the release of chemical acetylcholine at the terminal end of postganglionic parasympathetic nerve fiber, and that's why here these postganglionic parasympathetic nerve fibers may be known as cholinergic type of nerve fiber as they release the acetylcholine. This parasympathetic nervous system is called as housekeeping system. Housekeeping system, because this system shows mostly inhibitory effect. It means it slows down the activity of different visceral organs. खरं वास्तविक सिम्पॅथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टीम मुळे ज्या विसरल ऑर्गन्सची गती किंवा ज्या विसरल ऑर्गन्सला स्टिम्युलेट केलेलं असतं त्यांना परत नॉर्मल कंडिशनला आणण्याचे कार्य पॅरासिम्पॅथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टीम करत असते. सो वी कॅन से that parasympathetic nervous system is mostly inhibitory in action. It slows down the working rate of different visceral organs, but it works opposite to the sympathetic nervous system. It is antagonistic to the sympathetic nervous system. परंतु ही parasympathetic nervous system ही sympathetic nervous system चे विरुद्ध कार्य करत असते. I told you, whenever the sympathetic nervous system tries to increase the heart rate, parasympathetic nervous system tries to slow down the heart rate. When sympathetic nervous system inhibits the peristaltic movement, parasympathetic nervous system accelerates peristaltic movement. When sympathetic nervous system tries to bring about the relaxation of urinary bladder, on the other hand, parasympathetic nervous system brings about the constriction of urinary bladder and micturition, that is urination or passing of urine. It means these two systems, these were opposite, antagonistic to each other, and that's why it is said these two systems show whip and rain effect. Whip and rain effect. You know whip, that is the hunter used by the horse rider. अर्थात घोडेस्वारी करणारे जे जॉकी असतात त्यांच्या हातामध्ये जो हंटर असतो, चाबूक असतो, त्याला व्हीप असं म्हणतात. आणि दुसऱ्या हातामध्ये त्या हॉर्स रायडरच्या घोड्याचा लगाम असतो, ज्याला इंग्लिशमध्ये आपण रेन असं म्हणतो. दोघांचं कार्य काय आपल्याला माहित आहे. एक गती वाढवण्यासाठी उपयोगाला आणला जातो आणि दुसरा गती कमी करण्यासाठी उपयोगाला आणला जातो. In the same manner, these two subdivisions of the autonomic nervous system, that is sympathetic and parasympathetic, they acts as whip and rein, and thus they try to maintain the balanced state of working of all the visceral organ. So here we have studied all about the autonomic nervous system. Before concluding this lecture, one point I would like to add about the sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is also known as emergency system or called as the 3F system. Here 3F are fight, flight or fright. Once again we shall talk about that 3F while studying the adrenal gland, while discussing about the hormonal system, endocrine system. Anyway, so let us stop here today. Here ends this topic, autonomic nervous system. Thank you and bye.